Welcome to the One Hand at a Time podcast. I'm your host, Chris Welton, and today I have a very special guest. I'm in the Indianapolis area now, and a lot of people know who this guy is. He's was a cult legend, Super Bowl winner. But the cool part of it is he's just my friend Gary. He's my friend Gary that just happened to play in the NFL at one point. Like that's kind of how we've built our relationship over the last several months. And I just wanted to get him on today and really just talk about life in general. So welcome to the show, Gary.
Man. Thanks for having me. It's funny. We both didn't know who each other were, right? Just sitting on the sideline, chopping up about ball, right? Just passionate about helping kids.
Yeah.
So after we learned about each other, we're obviously both speakers, both have a passion for kids, both have amazing backstories about overcoming adversity, man, and just love sharing and just leaving a positive message.
Yeah, we literally met on the sideline at a Carmel High School football game. I'm standing there and I walk over to two guys and I just introduce myself and I've been a Colts fan for a long time. When he said it was Gary Brackett, I knew who it was at that point, but I didn't know it was Gary when I walked over. But it's been cool. Like we literally stood on the sidelines and watched Carmel do some amazing things this last year and have some good conversations along the way. But some of the best conversations have been having coffee or having lunch outside of that, right?
Yep.
So I got a question for you. Like, you know, when I look back and I see the things that you accomplished in the sports world, right? I mean, I'm your dreams, right? Like to be in the NFL, right? And then to win a Super Bowl. When that came to an end, what did that like how was that transition? Like a lot of people, like I mean, here we are having this conversation. We talk a lot about kids too. We'll get into that in a minute, but like, how did that transition? Like, was it like, okay, football's over? Time to up into another area, or like, was it like, oh my God, football's over?
I mean, I don't think nothing prepares you for when your time is done in football. And you know, I took the executive education classes and, you know, I did some stuff in the off season. I had other investments. I kind of knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but being outside of a locker room, being away from that type of structure environment, being away from that many like-minded individuals that tick the same, it takes a little bit of time to kind of get your bearings or kind of, you know, get adjusted to the real world. Yeah,
I always wanted to ask you that. And so I talk a lot about having receipts or proof in our life, right? Like when something challenging comes our way, we have receipts or proof that, man, I've been here before. So when you go through things today and you're in obviously you're raising two kids, so that's super challenging. That's why three kids.
Yeah.
That's even more challenging than a lot of people understand, right? So I've had four children. Do you ever get to a spot where you go back and, okay, I did this in the league I put in all this hard work, so this is a receipt or proof that I can accomplish whatever's in front of me today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's transferable skills.
Yeah.
So, you know, sports really is great just because of the discipline, the consistency, the ability to fail and get back up and to persevere. All those things are life lessons. I can remember my daughter is freaking a 4.2 GPA. She's a wonderful student, but she gets real anxious when she takes a test because she has that much pressure because she wants to do well. And before the test, I'm driving her to school and she's having a breakdown. She's crying. And I just had to leverage to her like, hey, baby, you studied. You've been here before. You've aced these couple of tests before. You have the receipts that proven that you've been in these situations and won. Just rely back to your training, right? One question at a time. Take deep breaths, right? And just go with your gut. And that just, I kind of like you said, just reassures you that so often in life, you're not dealing with a new challenge. It's an older challenge, you know, disguised as something new. But if you have receipts, if you overcame something before, then pretty much you're going to be able to overcome something again.
Yeah, I rely on my receipts a lot. I mean, I used them on stage the other day. I felt I was in a tough spot on a conference I was speaking on a Monday, and I had to pull some receipts from the past. Like, I've been here before, man. Like this, you know, I've been through tougher spots. Get on the stage. I tell you, as a speaker, one of the most challenging things that had happened to me on Monday, Gary, was there was no running clock. There was a screen in the back of the room that said 25 minutes, And then a little while later, it said
Yeah.
20 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I train to be, it'd be like playing a football game without a clock, right? Like the clock's broken. What am I going to do? Well, we train as speakers, and I know you've spoken a lot too. We train as speakers to hit certain benchmarks on the timing, right? Like I know what story I need to tell as I get to this point of the conversation. And if the crowd's not into it, then I know I can go a little more detail based off 17 minutes left. Right. So that was crazy. It was a crazy feeling there. Have you ever had anything happen like that when you've been speaking?
I have. So there's different type of stages. There's some where just like, hey, it's recommended 45 minutes to an hour, but you could go whenever, right? But there's other events where no, you got 42 minutes because we're all rolling, and you cannot go 1 second over. So now, because I've been there so often, and even if there is tech on stage, sometimes it fails and it goes off. So I always program my phone with a 5-minute content for my alarm to go off, and I put it on stage. And then when my alarm goes off with 5 minutes left, I just calmly walk over, turn it off, and no matter where I'm at, it's a 5-minute close. So then I always kind of train myself to kind of have my clock go off. All right, 5 minutes left, and then know where I'm at in the story, I could just go ahead and close 5 minutes. But I've been there plenty of times, and that's how I kind of adjust it.
I love that. So I want to go back to some football stuff too. Is you're like to play at the level you played at, right? To be defensive captain of a great team and a great organization. I mean, and this is, I don't think it insulted me. You're an undersized linebacker. You're a smaller guy.
Yeah.
Heart like a MFer, but like, you know what I mean? But a smaller dude. When you stepped into there, like, being undrafted, what was that like? Like, did you just feel like did you feel like you belonged there as soon as you stepped out there, or like you just had to like give 150% more than everybody else? I've always wanted to know that.
Yeah. So, college was very similar. I was a recruiter walk-on, didn't have a scholarship, and kind of made my way on special teams. I would always been, despite my size, I'm 5'10", 6, probably 228, 230, but I've always been one of the strongest guys, right? 425 bench, 385 hang clean, 600 squat. So I was, just shorter, right? But in terms of wise and strength wise, I belong. So I never let someone's outside perception and their thoughts get inside of my mind and cloud my judgment. But when I was playing special teams and I was a special teamer, I'm like, all right, this is my world. I never forget my first ever game starting, what you said kicked in. And it was like, oh crap, I'm starting against the Baltimore Ravens. And this was Baltimore when they had Deion Sanders, I think Rod Woodson. I think like 15 people came out the tunnel. This is the first game of the season, 2005. We're playing them there. And it's like the greatest offense, in the league versus the greatest defense in the league. And I'm the first time starting middle linebacker. And one of my good friends, best friends, David Thornton, saw how nervous I was, right? And he came up to me and he looked me square in my face and he said, remove all doubt. Remove all doubt. You're meant for this moment. You've trained for this moment. You deserve to be here. Go out here and do what you do. And the reason I say that, Chris, because I know you coach a lot too. And a lot of times the reason we need coaching, because sometimes when you can't see inside the frame when you're inside of it. So we need someone else to kind of speak life into us and see inside the frame and see our blind spots and encourage us and motivate us. Now, I was capable of doing it, and I probably would have figured it out. But hearing someone else say that to me at that time, that's all I needed to then have an 11 tackle game. I had 2 interceptions. I had a PBU, right? And I was like all over Sports Center the next day. And it's just that one little bit of belief of having a coach or having someone on my side speak life into me that just made the world.
Well, I remember watching that game. So there's that. Yeah. You know what? I think one of the most, we talk about, you hear a lot in the world of transference of wealth. I'm a big believer in transference of belief, right? Like, so what happened there is there was some belief transferred back into you. You already knew these things, but you needed just a little bit more from somebody else. And we can go back in the history of sports and just in general and see time and time again where someone has said one thing else to somebody and it's really turned them back in that direction, right? Like some of the things that we've said. So as a parent, how often do you bring that one out? Like come back and have that conversation with your kids. I mean, I know your son is a stud athlete, wrestler, football player, and you have a daughter that plays volleyball. I'm not sure about your other child. They play sports too.
Yeah. My other child, Rebuff, she's a lawyer, so she does mock trial. She does debate. So she's great. So a lot of times, I as a parent, period, my philosophy is, hey, treat me more as a resource than an authority.
That's great.
Right. Like I'm still figuring this thing out too, right? So while I would love to just be, hey, do it because I said so, I just don't think that's for me, a good way to parent, because I want them to experience life. I want to introduce them to failure, to conflict, to decisions as soon as possible. And I want to be there to kind of hear how they think about this challenge and how they're going to solve for it. All right. I think that's the greatest gift that I can give as for my kids. But then I also say, don't complain about, results with the work that you didn't put in. So I'm just like, if you didn't work for that end result, whether it be a victory in a sports game or whether it be an A or a high grade on a test, we can't sit here and complain about it and be upset about it and talk about how the world isn't fair. We didn't set ourselves up for success. We didn't give ourselves the chance to be at our best. So how dare we demand, right, that we've been given something that we didn't work for? So I'm just a really big stickler of putting in the work behind the scenes when no one is watching. And when I do that, and I tell them this all the time, fall in love with the process, divorce yourself from the outcome. And by falling in love with the process, by doing the right things, it doesn't guarantee you success. It just increases your odds.
Yeah, I love that. Like I'm a big believer in not focusing on the outcome, being falling in love with the process, falling in love with who I become on the way there. Like when I look at the things I set out to accomplish a few years ago when I left my corporate job and to go in the speaking and coaching world, I had goals, sure, but I really fell in love with the daily disciplines of trying to be better, like reading every day and doing these different things and putting myself in rooms to learn more people. And now I'm looking at it, I'm going, man, I blew past my goals. Like my goals weren't even a thing. Like I look at my goals now, I'm like, I was way too short on that. Like, and I look back at life, I'm like, man, I'm 53 now, but I'm like, man, I wish if I would have known that when I was like 33, like a totally different game. I was so focused and driven on just hitting my goal. I didn't care about who I became on the way. Right. And now I teach that all the time to my clients and my kids and everything. Like it's more about who you become on that journey than it is about who you are when you got there. So Super Bowl question, right? Like, so like the journey, you focused, you did all that stuff. Did you grow more than you thought you would on that journey before when you got to the mountain of the Super Bowl? Were you surprised on who you were when you guys finished that game?
So we finished the game, and then we went out and had some adult beverages, right? To kind of enjoy. And the next morning, right? And this is probably like a spoiler alert, right? So before the game, you pre-negotiate if you had a good game, whether or not you're going to be the guy that says, "Hey, you won the Super Bowl. What do you do? I'm going to Super Bowl." So that's already pre-negotiated, right? And if you're the guy, you say it.
Going to Disney World. Yeah, I'm going to Disney World, right?
So then it was like a Good Morning American spot, like 5 a.m. spot, right? So I was like, all right, yeah, like I'm going to be on national TV. We win the game. So I said yes to this. I didn't go home till 4 o'clock. When I go home 4 o'clock, I got to wake up, get dressed for the spot, and I got to travel. And when I wake up, I'm brushing my teeth and the water is wet. And I put my pant on one leg at a time. And I'm like, I'm a Super Bowl champion. Like this is supposed to taste like, Cristal when I brush my teeth, right? When I put my pants on, it's supposed to be like Aladdin. It's supposed to be like floating on the carpet. But it wasn't that at all. And then what I then thought was like, it was about the journey. It wasn't about this moment. It wasn't about staying on top of the mountain. it was about the journey that took me there. And then I started thinking about how many times I got up early in discipline, how many times I said no and I didn't go out and I did the right thing, right? How many sacrifices I made, how many injuries did I play through? How many times did I do the right thing, man? And it's just like, everyone think success is this exciting thing. And I hate to spoil, a lot of times it's not, it's boring, right? It's just you being locked in and you doing the same thing over and over and over again and not getting bored and not losing enthusiasm as you're doing it. And that's how you crack the code.
Yeah, it's incredibly boring. It's doing the repetitive stuff over and over again, right? It's like, I think it's Kenny the Jet talks about what champions do. They don't do anything different. They just do it more often, right? Like they just do what you're not willing to do every day. And you deciding not to go out, right? After a home game win against whoever, you didn't go to St. Elmo's with everybody else. You went home, right? Or like during practice, during the week, you got your therapy in. You didn't go out and have beers or whatever. Like you did all these other things. And then when you got to the mountain of the mountains, right? Win a Super Bowl, it was like, I thought a different Gary was going to be here this morning when I went to brush my teeth. I love that Chris Dahl. Like that's I got some good Chris Dahl memories in my lifetime. But I can see that, like, nowhere near have I ever been a Super Bowl, obviously. But when I look back at the big things I've accomplished, and like the first time I ran a full marathon, I crossed the finish line and I was like, well, that wasn't any good. Like, I mean, I'm glad. I did it, but like, I expected a marching band and like streamers and like a parade. No, that's not how that works. Yeah. So now that I understand that, just like when I did High Rocks recently, it was great to cross that finish line, but it's that dude I became training for that thing nonstop. I don't know how many times I stand next to you on the sideline going, man, I can't sit down because I've been training so hard for High Rocks. You guys can sit on the bench here at halftime, but I got to stand up. My legs are done. But it was about who we became. So now here we are, like in this next generation or this next part of our life, we have all these lessons, right? You have all these lessons that you've learned. I mean, 10 times or 20 times what an average person has learned. How do we package and deliver that to people that need it now? I mean, we have a responsibility, I think, like really do.
Yeah. It's funny. It's this, my clothes sometimes in my speeches, and I heard this from another speaker, and I'm sure speakers are probably a lot like artists, right? We hear something and then we kind of make it our own. But they always talk about, like, what was the greatest sports moment of all time? Was it Michael Jordan, 63 points in the Garden? Was it Peyton Manning coming back against the championship? Was it Gary Brackett, the most solo tackles of any player, any Super Bowl? That's still a stat, and I still record it. But no, it wasn't. The greatest sports memory ever was a horse named Secretariat. And in 1973, right, you know the story, he won the Triple Crown. And during the race, there's 4 lengths. Every length, he ran faster than his previous length. And if you listen to it right now on YouTube, YouTube it up, the announcer's going crazy, like, he's accelerating through the finish line. And when I look at my life, 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80, you're right. I want to accelerate through the finish line. And how can I do that? That I'm not the 20-year-old Gary, right? I'm not the 40-year-old Gary, even that was healthy, right? I have injuries. But how I do that now is sharing the message with others. Is that belief system we talked about earlier, instilling that in others, and be there to encourage people and be there to lead people. And to help people think and challenge people so that they can be their best. One of the things I admire that you do is, you talk to the football team and the young men, and their worlds are wide open. And I'm a huge believer that, the speed of the leader determines the rate of the pack. And you show me you're a good team, I'm going to show you a team with some good leaders. You show me a good organization, I'm going to show you an organization with some good leaders. So it's those men and women at the top that are extremely important to have outside resources that they can depend on and continuously sharpen that sword and sharpen that blade, because as you go, the team goes. And I get it. It's an awesome responsibility. And sometimes it's not fair that you have to be that guy. But in most cases, you were chosen. Yeah. Or you chose to do it. So now if you're going to be there, you might as well make the most out of it. So I know I've been chosen to lead. I've been chosen to be a positive role model. I've been chosen to be an example. We just talked about an unfortunate situation that occurred this weekend at Westfield, where there was a big incident, a fight that occurred 7-7. I coached 7-7. I actually coached the team prior to that incident happen. And there's very close times where that could have been, our team on the sideline. But yeah, I'm always the guy at that moment. Hey, refs, can we call a timeout? Hey, this thing is getting chippy. Let's make sure we talk to the teams, right? I don't want anything to retaliate, right? I don't want anything crazy to happen. Let's calm down, right? And let's make sure that we handle these things. And I think my goal, my responsibility to do that is something that I hold very close to my heart.
Yeah, it is a big responsibility, but I think that you're definitely chosen to do those things.
Yeah.
And then once you're chosen, you have to agree to put the sacrifices in to do that, right? Like you and I could say, look, I'm just focused on making sure my kids are good. Like my kids are good. That's all I'm gonna focus on. I'm gonna be the best parent possible. But I think you and I look at it the same way. It's like, we're gonna take care of our kids, but there's a lot of people out there that aren't taking care of their kids, and they need to hear voices of reason and other things. And even in the school districts that we're in, there's a lot of it. And we have the opportunity to talk strength and belief into some of these kids that aren't getting that at home. They're getting different messages. And I really believe that when people like us show up for them, it opens the door to see what else is possible for them. You know what I mean? Like there's a handful of those kids that I was working with this year that still DM me and text me throughout, like, that are on campuses now at other colleges, right? I mean, these kids left school and they're big D1 programs, and they still hit me up, Coach Chris, and ask me questions, right? Like, because I was just a voice of something different that they hadn't heard consistently enough, that they want to hear more, right? They want to hear, hey, I'm struggling with this. How else can I do that, right? And I had a great conversation with a guy the other day. I had coffee with a guy named Brian Evans. Do you know Brian Evans? Played for IU, for Bobby Knight, played for the Orlando Magic, like played in the NBA for like 10 seasons. He's a Carmel guy. I'll introduce you to him. Like, we'll go all have coffee together. You'll love this guy. But we had conversations about him going and playing for Bobby Knight. And he said, if he would have called his dad and said, hey, Coach Knight's being mean to me at practice, that would have not gone well. He said his dad was like Clint Eastwood, right? He said, but you dreamed to go play there, so toughen up. But in today's environment, that was 30 years ago. We played for Bobby Knight, actually 32 years ago. Things are different now. But I love the fact that the community we're in really brings in other people to help get these kids' heads right and do some different things. What's your take on that? Like what the programs are looking like here locally, and how they're really trying to bring in some people that are bringing some more positive influence.
Yeah, I think it's challenging how some people lead, and you can kind of see it, right? They feel like they have to be the smartest person in the room.
Oh yeah.
And they feel like, they have to hold all the power, and if they will have to be the guy that influenced the kid or whatever that situation may be. And I think, man, that's a very selfish and wrong way to lead. And I think you see other programs that are honored to have people come share a different message, or alternative message, right? Because I think it needs, you need a community to raise these kids. So I think you have a lot of that. And I think, teams that adopt that mentality, that, having other people come and speak. And, sometimes it comes, at a reduced fee. Sometimes it comes at a no fee or whatever the cost may be. But, man, what's the value of changing someone's thinking? What's the value of instilling confidence in your top 3 players that are then going to transfer to every single day? They're going to play that much harder because you instilled a belief system in them. You instilled something in them that's never going to leave them. Yeah. And the culture that's going to leave inside your organization.
Yeah.
All right. It's almost invaluable. So I think sometimes people make the investment, whether it be time, whether it be financial, and I think other people don't, but you could definitely see the difference with those that do.
Yeah, I agree. I tell you one story from this season that really resonated with me is during football at Carmel. I was on the sideline and there was several players hurt, and these guys were starters. And when they would have the offensive players would come off the field and go under and watch the video, or defense players, these key players weren't involved. They're standing there watching the game. So I intentionally, my next message I delivered with the team was, hey, look, if you're hurt, you're still part of that starting lineup. You need to be under that tent coaching your guys up. And I'm telling you, Gary, the next game on the sidelines, some of those players were still hurt. And what were they doing? They were under that tent. They were coaching those kids up. Yeah. They listened to what had to be said. And it's cool to watch that, and watch those kids adapt and become better leaders. The ones that want to listen, right? The ones that really want to take it in and go there. When you look at kids, like I'm just curious, like we have it, like we're in a great community, but outside of that, where do you find like your passion is outside of this community? Like, is there any other areas that you're really leaning in, trying to help kids, or trying to be that voice of reason for them?
So kids, I mean, I coach 7-on-7. So on a 7-on-7 team, we have kids from all over. So that's kind of, always neat. Obviously, I always give to some type of inner city school or program, kids that are underprivileged, minorities, Black and brown kids, have a passion there. I also have a huge passion for like young entrepreneurs. Yeah. Even the kids that went to school, but a lot of them didn't. It's really the hard knocks, and not knowing is very costly in business. So I'm very passionate just about educating people about reading P&Ls, about setting up systems inside their business, about having some type of mission or core values that you believe in, non-negotiables, things that are going to lead you. So then that every single day you're not worried about making these decisions. I love Ray Dalio. He wrote a book called Principles. And I love principles, right? Because once you establish your principles and your non-negotiables, life becomes easy. And people are, like, well, how could you make those decisions that quick? Because I have principles. And this followed one of my key principles, and it's easy to say yes or no. And when you live like that, decisions start becoming easier and you become a lot more efficient. But then it just leads to more success.
Yeah, I tell you, on the entrepreneur side, one of my biggest struggles early on in my entrepreneur career was I was ashamed to ask people for help or advice. Like, I thought I was supposed to know everything. So I tried to do everything and blew my company up, a couple companies just up. Like they were great companies, but I thought I knew that I could, and instead of asking for the tax advice, instead of asking for the financial advice, I thought I could figure it all out on my own and blew my companies up. And now later in life, I've got all my people. You know what I mean? Like I got my CPA, my advisors. I have a tax advisor. Like I have people that are way smarter than me in those areas that allows me to go make the money and do the things, and they protect that. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they start making that money and they're like, oh my God, look at all this money. And they don't understand what needs to be done with that money. Right? Like right. Little things. And it's because, well, I don't want to have to pay all those taxes. Well, if you have the right structure, you don't have to pay all the taxes. You got to structure it the right way. But like, right. I think being able to ask for that help in the entrepreneur space is a big deal. Like a lot of guys don't do that. They get that ego, like, oh, watch me build this. Well, I got no problem asking for help now because I did it the wrong way in the beginning.
And a lot of times, I used to do a lot of business coaching. I did some EOS implementation at one point, and people will say, well, you don't know my business. I'm like, I mean, business is 80% the same, 20% different. But what I do know is leadership. What I do know is communication styles. What I do know is structure. And I think, so many people are lacking that. I do know congruency. A lot of people think that their core values for their business can be different from their core values of life. And then they get burnt out, and then they feel stressed out and all these things because they're trying to be two different people. So I really like communicating with people to be authentic, to be original. It's okay to say no, run your own race, right? Compete with yourself, compete against the man in the mirror. And when you do that, good things happen. I think people get just so caught up with online and Instagram I tell people aren't who they supposed to be,
Yeah, I love
right?
that. I love that. I love that.
So people post things, right? And it's not always true. So you just have to stay true to what you're doing and who
No,
you
I
are.
absolutely love that. um, so I just want to talk real quick on a couple of things and we'll wrap it up here. If you look back now, like if you look at the NFL now,
Mhm.
as like what could we do better to help these athletes position themselves better as they exit the league? Because we know like the average career is 3 years, right? Like it's 3 years, and 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 what can we do better to prepare them, right? Like for when they exit. So because we hear all those bad stories of people falling on their faces, and they get the one big check, and then they're broke, and it's like how that's so heartbreaking and heart wrenching when I see that. And it's not just NFL;
Yeah.
it's all pro sports. But as a pro athlete, what could we do differently, Gary, to position people properly so when they exit that they're better prepared for life?
Man, I would even take it a step lower now because of the
Yeah.
NIL deal we're
Yep.
in, right? Because now you got college students that made $1 million that never goes
Yep.
pro, right? And then he's even younger, right? So um, is what we talk about all the time, and is what you're doing. Having some type of transitional coach, mentor, having someone talking about your championship
Hmm.
mindset, someone teaching you how to do
Yeah.
life and how to deal with problems and what does that process. And right, I'm not gonna tell you what you should do. I could give you some of my principles that you could
Hmm.
borrow, right? But I can show you how you should make decisions and what kind of data that you need to make those decisions. A lot of people are just
Of
ill-informed,
course. Of course.
and and this day of age when like information is readily available, right? I think it's ignorance that you're going to be uninformed. Like, I mean, just things are just too fast for you. So I think just having understanding and having people that really care that's going to speak to you, speak life into you, process into you. Because people say, "Well, I have a dad." Well, is your dad successful? Right? Right.
Yeah.
I have mentors. Are your mentors successful? Have they been through
Hmm.
what you've been through? Probably not. I mean, and not no knock on people's parents or something like that. But if you just look at the law of averages, there's only 1%, 2% of the world that made over 7 figures in a year. That have 7 figures
Yep.
currently. That deal with things with marriages and divorces and buying companies and selling companies and leading companies and being on the Super Bowl and being captain of the team and leading men and having injuries and recovering from them. There's just not a lot of people out there. I just think one, because when you just talk to guys, it's just like, who is this? Most of the young guys, they're like, who is this old guy trying to talk to me? And I'm just like, if you come, for me, it's just like, I want people to come to me like
Yeah.
thirsty, and then I can like feed them. I can't make someone want to drink this,
Yep.
right? So they have to come to me. So I do think the NFL leagues, organizations just has to do a better job of edifying people that they trust, that then lends credibility. So then these people can go to these people.
Yep.
And they do it with like, sometimes with musicians and artists and actors and have these guys around and all this type of stuff, right? But then other guys that I feel like could potentially help them in different ways, they're like, oh yeah, he's just a former player, or he's just an author, just a best-selling author, right? He
Yeah.
just well, it's just like, no, this guy can be life-changing if you let him,
Yep.
and he really has a heart for this. So I think the organizations, the leagues, identifying men, women that can speak life into these people, I think is what they need. Because then, even the people that you coach now, and that you coach for a while, and even Tony Robbins, you look at his resume, like there's all billionaires, all really successful people have either a board of
Yep.
advisors or have some type of
Yeah.
mentor, right, that they rely on.
Yep.
And us not to have that set up for other people, it just set people up for failure.
Yeah. I mean, things are caught, not taught, right? So like your financial habits are caught, not taught. Like, and if you come from Like if you're the first person to make money in your family, your financial habits are caught from them. Like
Yeah.
on my mom's side of the family, nobody ever made any money before except me. And my mom was a heroin addict. So I had the spending habits of a heroin addict, right? Like I would make a bunch of money and then I would just go buy 3 cars because I thought that was what I was supposed to do, right? Like I'll go buy a big house or I put 50,000 in a backpack and fly to Vegas because I made that money that week. Like, so I could go do it. Right. So it's like, no one ever taught me that. And I fell on my face a couple times on the way through. And then I finally got the right mentors in my life and started asking people for help along with God. God definitely has pulled me up from my bootstraps a few times, but like, there's so many people out there would be willing to help other people, to not, for me, I don't want people to go through the same things I went through. And if you do go through them, I want to help you get through them faster than I did. Right. Like that's kind of what that looks like. And I look at these guys and I see guys making $4 million or $3 million in the NIL too. Like they make $2 million. They never even taken a snap in college before. What's going to happen with that money? And I always thought when they started doing NIL, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if they gave them half the money now and then half had to go in some type of pension fund or something for them later in life? Like what, you know what I mean? Like what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if union is the right term, but eventually there's going to be some type of organization. Like in NFL, they force players to put money in their 401k. Right. And then the money in your 401k, you can't touch till you get a certain age. So I think that's just going to have to happen. You're just going to have to force guys and not give them the option to invest in their future. Not give them an option, not to pay taxes on this money, right? So I think just a lot of those rules just don't exist now because the NCAA was like, all right, you want to pay players? Our hands are out of it. You go ahead and do it. And, I don't think that was the right approach either, because now it's Pandora's box, so now it's going to be very hard to close it. But it has to be some big thinkers in a room that really make decisions that are best for kids.
Agreed.
Not best for college football, not best for these universities, right? What are best
for kids? Agreed. And having the right people, right mentors in their lives. It hurts me every time I see them do a pregame thing for a big college game, and then the 3-star players pull up in brand new Lamborghini Uruses. I'm like, probably not the best value. Probably not what you should do with your money, bro. Like, I was gonna be honest with you, like you were probably on an e-bike before you got here, and now you got a Urus. So I struggle with that. And I feel, I want them to do well with that money and the investment. They deserve the money. I just want it to work for them later in life instead of having the struggles that we all know come from having a bunch of money and then losing it and then try to get it back. And it just, if we could just protect them a little bit better, I think it'd be great.
Yeah. But I think there's not a lot of courses, classes that teach people how to be responsible, strong, like men.
Yeah.
Right? Because, when I was growing up, the myth of masculinity about, what it meant about having a bunch of money and having cars and flashy clothes and girls, all the things that we grew up, is all wrong. And I don't think the message of being solid and being a good, trusted friend and loving one woman and, having your body be your temple and anything that you put on your temple is going to look good I don't think that message is loud enough to these kids. So I think just speaking life into them about what's really important and it's not until, right. I'm guilty of thinking the other way. So it's not to, right. Until I've been through things that I can tell you things, not that I heard, right. But that I've actually been through that I endured. And I think it's just so powerful right now. So now it's just like, I'm an open book to someone that wants to listen. Yep. And, I get to share that mainly to my kids and the people that I coach, man. But on stage, the same thing, just trying to speak life into individuals and not, just being a puppet and just reading off of PowerPoints, but just having a presentation come to life and really be authentic and real, sharing what went on in your life, how you overcame it, and how people can apply it in theirs. I think that's just the best way to kind of
Yeah,
motivate and
it's
lead.
a great way to connect. So if people wanted to reach out to you, connect with you, hear more about what you do, maybe see if there's ways that you can help them, what's the best way to do that, Gary?
Yeah, social media. On my social media is Gary Brackett and on all the handles. And then GaryBrackett.com is my website where if you got an inquiry or something like that, you can reach out to me and our team will get to you and we can speak about how we can come together and create a great
Yeah,
event.
no, I love that for you, man. And definitely reach out to Gary. Like I said, he's become a good friend of mine. I moved back here in May, and it's amazing how God will put us in people's lives, and I can't wait to see what we do next, brother. But thanks so much for coming on here today, man. I really appreciate taking the time.